it. Today we're checking out the all-electric Hyundai Ioniq 28 kilowatts. Okay, so we find ourselves in the all-electronic Hyundai Ioniq 28 kilowatts. This one is the premium trim, and that retails at around 29,500, I think. And then there is a premium SE trim which retails for around 30,200 or something. That one's got all leather. This one's just all cloth interior. So let's get ourselves moving off. It's nice and smooth again. So it feels really comfortable, and the dash layout is nice and clean, and actually looks really kind of futuristic. The dash is all digital, so it really kind of fits in with what this car feels to be about. So it's 100% charged, and currently says got around 127 miles of range. So we'll see how we go. As before, the idea with this car is to drive it like I normally would, to see if it's going to kind of fit in with my use cases in terms of driving style over the next 24 hours, and see if it's what we like. So one of the things that's noticeable straight away that's really good about this, there's a little kind of, I guess you would normally call it a coin tray, but it's actually for your phone. And if you have a modern phone, I think it's the NFC connector in there, it just charges your phone without having to plug anything, which is fantastic. Fantastic, fantastic, fantastic. Cool. So I really do like the interior. There's kind of like a browny bronze kind of, I don't know what you call it really, just the outers of the dials and things where the vents are, which looks really nice. The only thing that right now I'm not too sure about is the rear view is completely obstructed down the middle by, I guess, what must be like the little wing type thing, but you can still see out of it fine, and there's a reversing camera, so parking shouldn't be a problem. It feels really nice, airy and open, and there's plenty of room down here to store all sorts of things. And I really like the buttons. The buttons are really nice. They look modern. They're really nice to the feel. It's good. And this dash layout, I'm just loving it. So as I'm driving, you can see like the energy flow coming from the battery into the front wheels. It's good. Okay, stop at these lights, see if I can adjust the steering a little bit. Oh, so you can, that's good. You can move it in, out and up and down like a modern car. So this car has 3 driving modes that you control from this little button down here. Drive mode. So we've got normal mode, eco mode and sport mode. So obviously, depending what mode you're in, it's going to adjust the amount of power that's available to you, so adjust the amount of torque that you have from the battery. Obviously it's also going to impact the speeds that are available. You can see on the dash here, as you go through this, so eco mode I think seems to be on a standard, and when you're in normal there's no indication whatsoever. Sport mode, everything kind of goes a bit orange. I tell you what it sounds like. It sounds like you are in the Starship Enterprise. It's got that kind of sound. Now I know that you can turn that noise off, so I think that noise is really for the benefit of people outside the vehicle, so that they can hear you coming. So I think there's a little button over here that says VESS. If you turn that off, and I think it becomes completely silent. So we'll see as we kind of get going. Yeah, it's completely silent now. There's a good level of sound in this car. I don't know obviously how well things get picked up from the cameras. I'm sure, I think that's the thing with electronics. You don't hear any engine noise, but obviously you get all the road noise. So, yeah. So once we get going, we can try this out a little bit more, but we've got these flappy paddles on the steering wheel. So they're obviously not for gear change. This is to adjust the regenerative braking of the car. So the left one moves the regenerative braking level up, and the right one moves it down. So you've got level 0, which I've just put this on right now, so we'll see what happens when I come off the throttle. Okay, so I think regenerative level 0 is no regen. Yeah, so as I'm in that 0 now, I'm just free coasting. No energy is going back into the battery unless I brake. So let's just move that up to regen 1. Obviously the different levels of regen are going to affect how harsh the stopping power is when you take your foot off the accelerator. But obviously one of the things with electronic vehicles is you want to have regen on, because it helps get you going a bit further. Okay, so here we go. This is regen level 1. Okay, yeah, it's not too harsh. You take your foot off the accelerator and you do feel a little kind of bump, as you'd expect with an electronic vehicle with the power coming off. So that's a level 2. Yeah, that's much more aggressive, but not pull you back like that really is harsh, but you can obviously definitely feel the regen working much better. If we just go to level 3, which is the highest regen, until we get past the speed cameras. Come off now. Oh wow, yeah. So level 3. I guess actually I don't know if it's going to bring us to a complete stop. I'm going to leave it on level 3 for a moment. But if you've seen the video where I test drive the new Nissan Leaf, it feels a bit like when you're driving with the e-pedal. So coming up to some traffic lights now. It's gone green again, so we might have a chance to test it out. Okay, and I assume, and we do an overlay video when we come to edit the video, but I'm assuming that when the regen is working, it is turning on the brake lights. Because if not, someone's going to go at the back of you. Now, I really like the dash in this car. I really like everything inside it, I think, so far. The switch gear, you know, the stalks and stuff feel good too. Where am I going? M5 north. It's obviously got automatic wipers, automatic lights. As you'd expect for a car from the future. The other thing that this has got that mode, you have the cruise button, and when you set it again you have the limit button, and you press it again, it turns off altogether. So on the dash right now, I just got it to the electric vehicle screen, so it's showing me what my mile range is, how far to the nearest charging point, which I guess is obviously just using the sat nav to look through a list of local charge points, which is quite handy. It's all touch button on this one, so there's no physical buttons for you to tinker with. And when you go out to what I guess they would call the home screen, you've got like a little mini overview of the sat nav, along with the information for the entertainment system, and then a button for the EV, a button for all menus, and a button for my menu. So I'm assuming my menu would be stuff that you customise. Yeah, so you can add your own apps into that. Go to all menus. It's actually quite responsive. Okay, so that level 3 regen, it won't bring you to a complete stop. So I felt it brake quite aggressively, and eventually it's gone down to like a coasting pace. So you can't just drive single pedaled with this car, you do have to use the brake pedal, but it works really nicely. I'm going to leave it on that level 3 regen for the majority of this 24-hour test drive, just so I can get the maximum range out of the vehicle, because that's really what's of interest to me. So I think on the right hand side of the dash, this battery level indicator, I guess is like the equivalent of the fuel gauge. It still says currently at 100%. When I'm driving now, on the left hand side is I guess what maybe discovers, it's like a throttle bar or something. So as I'm push the throttle more or less, there's a middle chunk which is eco, and then if I put my foot down, it goes up into this power band, and obviously when I take my foot off, it comes down into the charging area. So it's kind of showing you where it is that you're operating in. When we get to this next roundabout, obviously I'm in eco mode right now, and I'll accelerate off just to get a feel for what it's like in eco mode. Pigeon instincts for navigation, because I don't want the sat nav talking all over everything. Okay, so it's nice and responsive. So that's even in eco mode, but nice. It works really well. It's just so nice and quiet. It's a really smooth drive. And I like actually how things are laid out here in the roofline. I do wish these cars had the option for a black roofline. I think it would make it look a bit smarter. I guess I prefer the dark look, where I guess that's the majority of the customers like a lighter feel. But there's a sunglasses case there. Then you obviously got the sensors for the ultrasonic, all built into this light cluster. Those lights look really good. And obviously then back in the middle there, you've got the lights for the passenger. Yeah, so just messing around a little bit more. Obviously, they're clearly mystics. I'm spending so much time focusing on the beautiful touchscreen here, but there are physical buttons. There's physical buttons all along the bottom. There's also like a master EV button. If I press that, it goes straight into there. Oh wow! Okay, so even more happens when you touch this. So if on the EV screen, if you touch the battery icon, it tells you how much battery you've got left, expected charging times, energy consumptions. Oh, it shows you basically what's happening. So I've currently got climate control off. So if I turn that on, because it is a bit warm. Okay, so that drops me down to 124 mile range, and it says if I turn that off I get 100%. tells me how much power the electronics are using in the car. So using 0.30 kilowatts. The climate control is using 0.34 kilowatts, and then you have basically a picture of the little motor, which tells you, obviously depending on how much you're pushing the throttle, how much power it uses. So right now it says 11 kilowatts, and it goes up and down as you're doing whatever you're doing. So I like it. Okay, so we're on the motorway now, so I'm going to try and get this cruise control set up. So we set our speed. How do we? So we set the speed. Set that to 70. Okay, and we're done. Up we go. And then what we do is on the steering wheel, there's another button with like 3 kind of chevron lines. So if we adjust that, that sets our adaptive cruise control. So right now I'm coming up behind a lorry, so I've got this currently set to 4 bars, and so the speed is automatically reducing to keep us a safe distance from the vehicle in front. So yeah, it's probably slowed us down to around 60 miles per hour. That's good. What else we got on here? Oh, okay, so there's a little button that looks like a couple of A4 sheets of paper, and that controls the menu screen on the dash on the right hand side. So first time I press it, it's changing us to like a map, a compass, sorry. So it says no destination, so I've obviously got nothing programmed into the sat nav right now. So I press that again, it gives me information about the current cruise control settings. So cruise control set to 70 miles an hour. It's got the 4 blocks with a vehicle in front. So I wonder if I indicate to move out, if the car will accelerate itself, or if we'll have to do that manually. So let's do that. Okay, so the car is accelerating itself as we slowly move back up to 70. It's really nice, smooth progression acceleration. So I'm still in eco mode, and so on that little power bar, the power isn't going above the eco threshold to make sure that we are driving most economically. And I think there's a button over here somewhere that's lane departure warning. So if I turn that on, now I have this icon come on the dash. So I guess if I get too close to the line, okay, it helps keep me in line. So I guess that's a bit like autopilot in a way, right? So I don't know why we're slowing down so much now. I guess this lorry has slowed down in front of us. So I don't know if that means it kind of drives itself. You'll see, so I'm heading towards the white line now. Hands on the steering wheel. Okay, they're on. Yeah, okay. So I'll keep my hands on the steering wheel now. They're moving out towards the line a little bit, and it is turning me. So it is like a form of autopilot. Awesome. The centre console reminds me a little bit of a Mercedes. So you've got this kind of thing that looks like it might be a mousy type of thing, but I think it's just like a palm rest. So obviously you put your palm on there, it gives you access to the, so you press the drive, reverse, park and neutral button. So we've got heated seats in the front on this one, auto hold. So I think that automatically applies the handbrake or the parking brake when you come up to the standstill and stuff. We'll try that later. Also heated steering wheel. Most of these electric vehicles seem to have heated steering wheels and heated seats or anything. I think I was talking to someone the other day and they made this comment about the fact that they think it's strange that electronic vehicles have all these kind of cool technology, like, you know, I say it's not cool, but, you know, modern technology, so heated steering wheels, heated seats, all this sort of stuff, and they find that surprising. See, it's obviously the main thing with electric vehicle is you want to be considerate about battery usage, right? But the whole idea of these electric vehicles is to embrace technology and kind of the future, and you don't want to get rid of all your creature comforts just because, you know, you've got to worry about battery stuff. And these things only use a fraction of a kilowatt, right? So we need our creature comforts. Hyundai's own infotainment system, obviously, but it's using Infinity speakers. Now, I wasn't kind of really aware that they still existed. So back in the day, Infinity was definitely a speaker brand that, you know, was really reputable, similar to like Bose and you know, the other kind of premium brand audio systems. So yeah, it's really nice. There's also obviously an SD card which has got the map systems on, so I guess you can update that yourself. So I'm looking this cubby hole, how do we get in there? And it's just a big storage bin to keep stuff in the center console, and there's actually a charging 12-volt charging point in there. Actually it's a USB charging point, plus you've got two 12-volt 180-watt like cigarette sockets down there, along with a USB connector and an aux connector. There's lots of connectivity options here. Okay, so messing around a little bit more on the dash. So on the right hand side we've got the toggle switches up and down. It says okay as you push things. And so if I push that down once, it's showing us our current energy consumption. So right now, cruising at 70 on the motorway, I'm averaging 4.6 miles per kilowatt hour. And actual real-time consumption is somewhere around 7 miles per kilowatt hour. Obviously the average is what we're really interested in. So I move that down a little bit more, and we've got the driving information. So we've got two of those. Okay, we go down another time, and we've got real-time speedo, so currently 66 miles per hour. So that's if you want a digital, if you want to rely on digital dash as opposed to the tachometer, analog form. And back there to energy flow. So if I go back to these other menu screens, okay, right. So there is this screen, the one that we mentioned before, that has the cruise control and the lane departure stuff. In addition to that, I have tyre pressure information. That's interesting. So that's just that in that menu. So we have cruise settings and the tyre pressure. I still can't modify these user settings. I'm assuming that I need to be stationary for those, health and safety purposes. There's plenty of legroom in the front of this car, and I really actually like the materials, the plastics. They're really solid. There's no obvious noise or rattles. It's a really nice place to be inside this car. The door bins aren't massive, but they're definitely functional, so you can probably keep like a can or something in there. Probably not big enough to fit a bottle in. There's another mini cubby holes here. bottles somewhere. You've got this huge storage bin in the middle there. Kind of reminds me of a Volvo in a way, and that's a good thing. There's plenty of room to put loads of stuff in here. And in the centre here, centre console, we've got 2 drinks holders with a little adaptive pushy things, so that your drink's not going to flop around everywhere. So this is good. Okay, so the centre infotainment system, like I said before, it's all touch screen. It's got that nice matte finish, so it's not picking up all your greasy fingerprints too badly. You can kind of swipe that left and right. Everything about this car is really, it kind of feels futuristic, which is what you want the electronic car to be like in my mind. And I think it's clear that Hyundai designed this Ioniq to be an electric vehicle. It just makes sense. Not related to obviously this 24-hour, but there is the Hyundai Kona, which is like this SUV crossover thingy. And I think in the next month or so they're releasing an electronic version of that. So that might be interesting as well. And this has also got Apple CarPlay and Android also as well, so we'll try those out today as well. That's good. Images? What's that? Oh, that's not right. Hyundai Ioniq? I'm liking it so far. Yeah, this autopilot-y type thing, it works pretty well. It's keeping me in the lane. It's good. Yeah, it's a bit jerky when it suddenly detects that line there, but I don't think it's as good as, it's definitely not as good as the Pro Pilot in the Nissan Leaf, but I guess this isn't really, it's not really billed as being a...
In 1 mile, keep right onto M5 towards the northwest.
So yeah, it's not, like I was saying, it's not billed as being an autopilot or a Pro Pilot type thing. It's, you know, adaptive cruise control with lane assist. So the sat nav in this is pretty good actually. I really like kind of the map layouts and kind of the way it's presented. It's really nice and clear, and it looks modern. Everything about this car feels modern, and it's kind of, yeah.
Now keep right.
I will. It's definitely night and day, I feel, from the new Nissan Leaf, which is, it's disappointing for the Nissan, right? Because that's a brand new car. And obviously I know the Ioniq is as well, but this feels like a futuristic electric vehicle, and the dash and the centre console and everything. And I think just Nissan could have done better.
Keep straight on this road.
But Hyundai, you've done a fantastic job with this car. Things that I'm still not so sure about is the external styling. But I think, so my friend Ed has one of these cars, and that's also one of the reasons why I decided I wanted to test drive one. So I've been out in his, but obviously not had the privilege of driving it yet. Sorry, this bit of road is really noisy. But yeah, the thing that I'm still not sure about is the exterior looks. So, and I've worked out what it is that I don't like. Being the, I guess specifically, I don't think the car necessarily looks particularly sporty, but at the same time, I think it looks a bit more sporty in terms of curvature than like the other electric vehicles that are available. And really, what it is the wheels, because all these electric cars are very limited on the wheels, right? So I think the Ioniq, you have these wheels, or these wheels. There's no choice, but I think you could obviously change those for a sportier looking set. If I can find it, I'll post it over there. I think I saw at some motor show some third party doing aftermarket. They look a bit like the old BBS alloys that you used to be able to get back in the day on this. I think they would look pretty cool. And then the other thing that I think a lot of electric vehicles suffer from is they get rid of the front grille because they're like, oh, we don't need a front grille because there's no engine that we need to cool, so we're just stick a load of plastic over the front of it, and that's basically what Hyundai have done. And I think what makes it worse is they do it in a different colour to try and kind of say, hey look, here's the no grill thing. And I think that is another thing that is kind of off-putting. It is also one of the things that took me a little bit of time to get used to with the Teslas. But I'll put an overlay picture now. People have had these resprayed, and when you get it resprayed, it's all the same as the body colour. I think it looks so much better. So, you know, I think that is worth doing if you're going to have this car and you care about the styling. Again, back to what I said in the video previously. To some people, the car is just a tin can that you move your family around in, and that is absolutely fine. But I do care about the styling and what it looks like, and so to me, that is something that I would consider. So to get that the front resprayed and the back kind of grille area, which I think doesn't actually look that bad, but if you're going to do it, you know, it's about £700, I think it was, all in, and to get that resprayed by Hyundai themselves, or at least their recommended body shop. So I think if I was to get this car, that would definitely be something that I'd factor into the price. So how much for some aftermarket wheels, and how much to get that stuff resprayed. And then the thing, I guess, with the aftermarket wheels that I don't know, and I haven't really had a good look online, so if I find it out, I'll paste it here. But how much will that affect economy? So obviously, lots of these cars have these electric cars have these narrower wheels or lighter weight wheels as well to increase the range. So if you do away with that, what is that? How is that going to impact the amount of miles that you can do in the vehicle? So I think, especially for this car right now, since it's 28 kilowatts, out of the 3 cars that I'm testing, this has the smallest battery. So in theory, it's also going to have the smallest range, which means I have to increase the amount of charges I have to do. I guess talking about charges, the Ioniq does have a temperature controlled charging system, or temperature controlled battery management system. So what that means is that, you know, there's cooling fans and cooling systems related to the battery. So when you're charging, and especially doing the rapid charge, when also the batteries are getting a lot hotter, it has active cooling management system, which means that you don't suffer the, in quotes, rapid gate. So that kind of counters the charging range issue, maybe. One of the things the sales guy and I were talking about is that Kona, that EV that's coming out in the next couple of months, that has a supposed range like 250 to 300 miles or something, so a much bigger battery system, and I think it's in a slightly smaller car, so I'm not sure if it's using a slightly different battery cell technology or what have you, but that would assume that they would bring that technology into the Ioniq. Now maybe, I don't know if the Ioniq's been out long enough that they want to do that. I think the Ioniq's been out just over a year, but I think it wouldn't be very hard based on current technology to take the Ioniq from the 28 kilowatts it is right now up to 40, 50, 60, right? And I think that would really differentiate itself in the market as well. So we shall see, but yeah, this is a really nice, comfortable drive, and I really like actually the seating position. There's a nice dead pedal to put your foot on, the centre console. The fact that you've got this room, it means that your leg can rest naturally. I do find actually my other leg now rubs a little bit on the door trim here as it comes down, but it is a comfortable drive. And these seats also have electronic lumbar support, so you can adjust the lumbar in the lower back as well, which is quite nice. But to control the up and down, forwards and backwards, and the backwards is just a conventional lead leather. Actually, there's really no leather in this one. It's all this nice, good quality plastics, but it works well. They've done it well. And like I said before, this kind of bronzy. Is it bronze or is it, what's the proper word? It's more copper. I guess it's the copper accents around everything makes it look good. I think I like it. Feels open and kind of simple, but also I don't know, just effective. It feels. I guess it feels like what I think electric vehicles should feel like. I think that's kind of important for the mindset as well. So good. This one, I don't know if the mats come as standard, but it's got the Ionic mats in here, which look pretty nice too. And there's a good amount of room in the back there. So as again, all cars go at ISOFIX fitments, so it's easy to open up and chuck the child seat back in there. And it also has a 3-seat arrangement as well. So again, like with all these cars, 2 adults, no problem. You squeeze 3 adults in, you can do a decent drive, but you know, I'm not too happy about it. But that never bothers me. I'm only ever interested in having 4 seats. My BMW 4 Series only has 4 seats, and I'm fine with that. Also in the back of this one, you've got the fold-out centre armrest as well. I think the Leaf didn't have that. Oh, just pull it in front of me, dude. What are you doing? Oh, the electric cruise control works. That's something. Whoa! Jesus! People are trying to kill me. One thing that I like about this car actually, which is a completely stupid thing and probably won't matter to anyone, I love the fact that on the steering wheel you have the option to mute stereo. It's been ages since I've had a car that does that. My BMW doesn't do that, I don't think. No, it doesn't, not from the steering wheel. The Leaf didn't do that. Why don't people do it? Sometimes you want to just mute things and have a conversation, you don't have to turn up and down. Just noticed whilst we were sat in this super slow traffic, going 30 miles an hour, that there's obviously some buttons down here as well. So obviously, as I mentioned before, we've got the lane assist button for the traction control off, the ESS button. I should really just call that Starship Enterprise button or something. Button to adjust the lights. I'm looking forward to see what this car's like at night. I bet it's really smart. Button to open the flap for the charger. Looks like a charging auto button and a timer off button. Something to do with the charger. There's definitely a plug on there and a clock. So I have to work out what that's all about and come back to that a bit later. I guess one thing that is, I guess not super different, but whereas the Leaf has its charging point at the front, this has it at the back where the conventional filler cap would be. I guess that makes more sense in terms of the Ioniq obviously being a full petrol or a hybrid or electric. I'm guessing the electric's always on the same side and they're swapping over the fuel side or what have you. I don't know what side it's on actually. It's on the left hand side, I think. That's one thing that would be good. You know, in your combustion engine car, if you didn't know this, is a little tip. When you look at your fuel gauge, where you got a little picture of the filler pump, there's normally a little arrow on it, and wherever that arrow is depicts where your filler side is. So if the fuel pump's got a little arrow pointing to the right on it, your filler's on there. If it's pointing to left, it's on there. So why hasn't the electric one got that arrow on it, telling me it's there? It's the little things. I'm going to IKEA, so you know I'm going to get a desk and all sorts of other crap. That's always the way with IKEA. You go in there to spend £40, you can't spend the 400. So just notice the lane assist has turned white, which I guess for some reason, I think it's probably because there's no white lines on the right hand side, but this metal barrier, which means that you can't detect where the lanes are. So don't take your hands off. You should be my collection from IKEA now, just sat in traffic, and I'm running a bit behind, so I decided to treat myself to a Burger King, and this is a perfect example of how the adjustable cup holders and that massive space in the front is perfect for picking up your fast food when you're in a hurry. I did manage to get most of the stuff in the boot. It's quite a big loading area, obviously because it's a hatch. So yeah, not too tricky, and I managed to put a few things behind the passenger seat. There's plenty of room in there, and we'll check that out in a bit more detail in terms of head clearance and everything. But yeah, it looks like there's plenty of room for full-size adults in the back. Right, let's concentrate on getting back and continue this test further. So things are going well still so far. Just on the motorway again, trying out this adaptive cruise control and lane keeping assistance thing. It works pretty well, but every now and then it's a little bit disconcerting. You can kind of, it feels like it's more actively dragging you around the lane a little bit as opposed to keeping you in a fixed position. I'm not too sure if that's, I don't know if the cameras aren't as high definition, so it can't do a good track of what's happening. I'm not quite sure, but I can definitely tell the adaptive cruise control works pretty well. There's a little picture of a car on the dash, so that flashes where you can't see the car, and then it will go solid when it has got the car. Sometimes when you're changing lanes, I think it gets a bit confused as to whether there's a car there or not, or if you can see the car in the previous lane, so it kind of brakes you and fails to accelerate sometimes. But only it's like a split second. Obviously you can just override, that's when you get used to driving the car, you know, you just accelerate out and then resume the driving after that. The other thing, I can't remember if I mentioned it already, that I noticed is when you've turned the car off and you turn it back on again, it resets the regenerative braking back to level 1. So that's a little bit annoying. I'll do some investigations later, and maybe it's possible to configure that in that user settings that I was trying to get access to earlier, so you can have it so that the regenerative braking is always set to the standard level that you want. Yeah, so far we're doing pretty good. It's a nice, comfortable, effortless drive. So definitely no complaints. And I think I said this already, but I'm impressed with the sat nav. I think a few people have said that they weren't too happy with it, and they preferred to use the Apple Play and use the maps on there. But I think it looks really good. It works really well. I guess the thing that it doesn't have, not without messing around with it a little bit, and I'll look at that a bit later. I think you can set up your phone as like an access point to enable it to do real-time traffic update. I don't know if then it can pull down speed cameras and stuff like that, because it does know the speed limit. So there's a camera up there that's obviously reading signs, and then you have on the big display here obviously what the speed is. So yeah, but no, it's really.
In 2 miles, keep right onto M5 towards the southwest.
Yeah, it's really enjoyable. Nice, comfortable drive. I think maybe I wouldn't say it's exceeding my expectations, but I think Hyundai are obviously considered to maybe be one of those budget brands, but really they're not. The build quality is amazing, right? You get like a 7-year warranty and all that sort of thing, and it's definitely is not budget interior. And let's face it, really the prices aren't super budget. I mean, this is the same price as like the Nissan Leaf, for example. to put some miles on it, and I've noticed it really cool. So when you approach the car, if it's been locked, obviously assuming you've got the keys on you, it knows that you're coming to it. So the wing mirrors unfold, and obviously you can still press the little button on the handle and the car unlocks. And then if you're walking away again, assuming you haven't opened the car, it locks itself again. That was surprising. At first I was like, oh crap, what's it doing? So that's pretty cool. And now it's getting darker. I noticed it's got bi-xenon headlights. It's got the nice little daytime running lights on there as well. It's there's a lot of good things about this car, and I still like being in here. I do wish, I guess personal preference, I'd like it if there was an option for like a darker headlining and stuff. I think things just look a bit nicer when they're darker, but I guess perhaps the majority of customers like the more open, airy feel of the insides. I'm also still really liking this BESS, or whatever that system is, so I can be on the Starship Enterprise. You feel like you're like impulse engines to maximum. Away we go. That's good. The other thing, I've been playing around with the regen a little bit more as well, and I think depending on what type of driving you're doing, I think it definitely is that trade-off. So with the regen set to 0, so you can then coast, the car does feel like it accelerates more freely. You can definitely feel that whenever there's any regen on, you are actively, I guess, working against the force of the motor. And I mean, I guess obviously you are, but you can notice that is there, which is kind of interesting. But yeah, as it's getting darker, we get to see if the cockpit is like when it's lit up. I also again was just messing around with the modes again, and one thing I didn't spot the first time is, so when you're in eco mode and normal mode, obviously as we mentioned earlier, you've got a change in throttle response and everything, but when you then go into sport mode, I hadn't realised that the dash, I noticed it changed colour, but it actually goes from being a speedo to like I guess a rev counter in a way. So that dial switches to percentage of power, so 10, 50, all the way up to 100%, and then in the middle you've got a digital speedo. So it's quite cool the way that all kind of changes. And again, like I said before, this car just feels like a more futuristic place to be. Right now, I'm going to continue to drive along. So I've literally just got into the red of the charging lead along with the Type 2 charging lead, and they come like in one comes in like a tougher case, it's a 3-pin plug, and the other one comes in like this, just a soft bag. You can put that underneath the cargo net, and then you've got the like it's a little, I don't know what you call it, it's like a pullover blind thing to kind of make things look a bit neater in there. It is kind of weird because it's not a very deep boot in some ways, but I think it's part of the way the back glass is kind of set up in that kind of split section. Makes it feel a bit odd. Whereas obviously you can load it higher, being a hatch. But yeah, it's a good amount of space. And one thing I haven't done, which I'll do that before I take it back, I forgot to put the seats down to see how much of a lip there is for when you're loading flat things. So I'll add that in now so we can see how good or bad it is. But everything else so far is pretty good. Okay, so I just got down to 13% now, and the little lights come on to tell me the battery is low and I should find a place to charge. I think with most of these electric vehicles, once the battery kind of gets into that lower segment, it tends to discharge quite quickly. I'm not quite sure how much reserve the Ioniq has. Switch on that regenerating. So yeah, I'll be heading to a charging station shortly. Oh, and the other thing I confirmed, now it's getting darker, which I assumed would be the case anyway, that when the regenerative braking is operating, the brake lights are coming on. So obviously someone isn't going to end up flying up behind you, which is always a good thing. So I'll do a few more miles just to drain the battery out a little bit more. Can I get a good really feel for, you know, with standard driving, not trying to drive specifically economically with a mixture of motorway, A roads, B roads, and obviously some top speed and some acceleration. What that's like. Okay, so I had a few problems getting the rapid charger to do its thing, but now it's all done, and 62% charge, 81 miles. Good show. So one of the things I've realised now driving in the night time, let's see if I turn this light on, that is any help. Yeah, so driving at night, I've noticed they aren't by xenon. They look like they are from the outside, but you've got xenon main beam, but the full beam is halogen, so you get this horrible yellow tinged light. It's a little bit disappointing, but not the end of the world. And the lights, they seem pretty good, so you know, give a good decent pattern for you to navigate your way on. But yeah, a bit of a shame that they're not by xenons, but it's all good. Some of these extra buttons here, that enables you to do timed charging and automatic disconnection at the charge point, and there's this whole section on the dash to schedule when you're doing the charge and stuff. So for example, if you're on economy 7, you might just want to charge your car up in the evening, so that's quite handy. And Ed has the premium SE model, so I'll show you some overlays now. So he's got overtaking assist buttons, heated seats in the back, active cooling seats in the front, as well as so please excuse the video quality in this last section of the video. The GoPro battery's run out, so I'm resorting to using the forward-facing camera on my iPhone, which obviously isn't the best. But yeah, this concludes the 24 hours with this 28 kilowatt all-electric Hyundai Ioniq, and I thought I'd kind of summarise with thoughts and feelings so far. So I've done around 152 miles yesterday, and I averaged, I think it was around 5.2 miles per kilowatt hour, which is pretty impressive. And between charges, so remember I picked this car up at 100% and then I plugged it in to charge at around 4%, and that was 135 miles between charges, so I think that's pretty good considering the size of the battery. I really like the internal styling. The fit and finish is really good quality plastics. The seats are comfortable. I would recommend the Premium SE edition personally, just because I like the leather seats and I think they just feel a little bit slightly more comfortable, but definitely nothing wrong with this setup. I like the clarity of the infotainment system. I like the little kind of bronzy accents around. I really like the cabin layout where it kind of feels open down the middle on the center console. That's really good. The sound system is really good. Those Infinity speakers produce a really nice clear sound with a good level of bass. Decent amount of legroom in the back and decent headroom. Because this car is kind of slightly curved, so it looks a little bit more sporty from the outside, and that does obviously impact the headroom a little bit, but not the end of the world. The boot space is pretty decent. Because of the batteries in the back, you have a slightly raised flooring there, so it's not as deep, but the seats do fold pretty much all the way flat, so that's helpful if you need to load larger objects. What else do I like? Performance is good. So 0 to 30 time is just over 3.5 seconds. 0 to 60 time is around 8.5 seconds. And I think the top speed is quoted to be 103, and I'm pretty confident it would do that, so there's no slouch. What else? I really do like the dash layout and how you've got all the various different menus. I think it looks really futuristic. I like the fact that you can mute the stereo from the steering wheel. Yeah, I think that pretty much sums up most of the things that I like. There's good storage. Yeah, there's not a lot I don't like about the inside of this car, really. So, moving on to the things that I guess I don't like so much. The rear windscreen, I think it's annoying. It's got that big bar through the middle, so it does impact visibility a little bit. The reversing camera is good, but it's like a low definition, or at least a standard definition reversing camera. It'd be nice if that was high definition, because the screen seems so high def. It seems a bit odd that the camera's a bit crappy. I'm still not sure on the external styling. I think it's the wheels. And if I get some time before editing this video, I'll try and do a Photoshop of putting some different wheels on it to see what it looks like. I mean, personally, I think wheels make a big difference to a car, and I'm just not 100% keen on the wheel setup, but obviously they can be replaced. Maybe it makes it look better, maybe it doesn't. And then, as mentioned previously, the silver banding across the front and the back, but you can fix that for £700. I think it just would make the car look a bit nicer, and I think then like I said, whether you like that style or not, then it looks a bit Tesla-ish. The other things that what else am I not too keen on? I think that's it there's not a lot I don't like about this car. Not so much things I don't like, but a few things that I don't think are necessarily brilliant or that good. So the fact that you got this regenerative braking options on the paddles, I think it's a nice little gimmick, but I don't really think you need it so much. But definitely turn the regen off. So especially like a motorway drive, I recommend you probably don't need the regen on because you're not really slowing down much at all. And I guess that is the handy part of the paddle. You can just flick it on one if you want to. And it is annoying that if you like a certain set of regen option, I haven't managed to find out how to make that always default to that. It seems to just reset to 1 every time. The lane assist I didn't find to be that good. A lot of the time I felt it kind of wavering in the line. Maybe it was just the quality of the roads or the lines on that certain part of the motorway, but it did not seem as good as some other cars with that lane assist function. But it does work. But the cruise control, that works really well, and obviously keeping the distances, that works really good. So I think that kind of wraps everything up. I think so far this is the best interior of the electric cars that I've driven so far. I like how it feels. Exterior wise, I'm still not 100% sold on, but I'm really impressed with the range that you can get from that 28 kilowatt battery. That's another thing. So when doing rapid charging or any sort of charging, there's no, at least I couldn't find a way of seeing at what speed or what power you were charging at. So that probably doesn't matter to people that aren't kind of a bit nerdy about these things, but it would be helpful to understand that a little bit to make sure you're getting a good power out of the charging station. There is actually a little vent under these rear seats. I think that helps with some of the active cooling from the battery. And you could hear the fans in it last night after it had finished doing a charge, which was cool. So it shows that that's working. But no, overall, I really like this car. I'm just not 100% sure on the external looks, but maybe some wheels and some spray paint can fix that. I think it is good value for money. I think if I only bring out one with a slightly bigger battery, then I think this might be the car to beat in this price segment. Because for me, the only slight concern I have, but wouldn't be a showstopper, is the longest journey I ever tend to have to do is 150 miles each way. I think this car might do that if you drive slightly more economically. So if you remember, that 135 miles I got was from me just driving completely normally, some 0 to 60 testing, some top speed testing, so not like on an eco drive to try and eke the maximum mileage out. So I think there's more that you could do with it. But I guess if I did that trip, I'd definitely have to stop and charge up. But then thinking about that, the other cars, if I compare it to the Leaf, just an example, the new Leaf, I reckon I could have got 145. Well, I got 145 out of that. So I probably would still stop and charge. So maybe this is a false range anxiety concern that I'm having here, and the 28 kilowatt is fine. But yeah, I don't think Hyundai have to do much to increase the battery capacity a little bit somehow and really make this an even stronger contender. So yeah, I think that covers everything that as I talked to you guys about. Oh, here comes i3 blasting past me. Testing out one of those on Thursday. So yeah, I hope this video was helpful. I know these 24-hour videos are quite long, But it's obviously as much for me as you guys in terms of a reference of what the experience was like. So when I decide which electric vehicle I'm getting, I can come back to this and kind of re-review and reconsider for the future vehicles I'm testing. And sorry once again that this last bit of video was shot on the front camera of the iPhone with probably a bit of pocket lint smearing or smidging the lens. I don't know. So yes, thank you Hyundai, it's been a pleasure. Thanks for watching this video. A thumbs up would be really appreciated. If you're interested in other geek type videos, please consider subscribing to Spectrum Geeks. Why not also follow us on Facebook, Instagram and Twitter. And before you leave, why don't you check out one of these other videos that may be of interest. Thanks again for watching.